Okay. So I'm just getting set up here. I'm waiting for Facebook. I'm on YouTube at the same time, but it's my smallest platform, so I kind of feed off the other ones. Hello, I'm just waiting for everyone to turn up. My name's Lisa, and I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. So where are you from? Where do you live? Always interested to hear where people come from. How come I'm getting hearts on YouTube, but no one's there? I don't know. Anyway, I can't figure stuff out. Okay, so I'm just waiting for everyone to turn up. And in the meantime, I'd love to know. Oh, hi, Jessica. I'd love to know where you're from. Where are you from? So who have I got here? Hickey, I can't say your name. Your last name's Morgan. Welcome. Taylor, Christine, and Sarah, and Jessica. Florida, Holiday, Florida. Is there really a place called Holiday, Florida? Wow. Never heard of that. It's very fitting. It's a good place to go for a holiday. Okay. So Jersey. Hello, Christy. New Jersey. Today, I don't know what it is where you are, but it's the last day of summer today. We've had just the most amazing summer here in Vancouver. Very little rain, but yeah, it's been fantastic. Outside of Tampa Bay. Oh, okay, interesting. That's Holiday, Florida. Okay. Oh, I got enough people. I'll get going. Okay. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you check out my website, it's BratBusters.com. You can see my free behavior board, my boot camp courses, one for toddlers, one for older kids. You can look into coaching. I do have, I've got a big wait list for that. I'm feeling guilty. I haven't looked at it for a while. Anyway, I've got a big wait list, but I will get through it eventually if you're interested in working with me. Also, you can look into our podcast. My daughter and I work together. We do the podcast together. It's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. And it's on all the platforms, and we save it on YouTube. If you want to watch us do it, we film ourselves. It's just it's just so in line with the business that I teach parenting, and my business partner is my daughter. It's fantastic. She does all the marketing and planning. She kind of takes charge of stuff because she loves being in charge and I don't. So I'm very much a follower in my personal life, and but not with kids. She's not my kid. She's 30, so you know what I mean. She's an adult, and she loves being in charge of stuff. South Carolina. Hi, Casey. Thanks for your support. I appreciate that. Texas. Okay, so let's get going with your questions. Do you have any advice for a family that's have stepchildren that just came over on the weekends? That is tough. The biological parent's always in charge, because whenever I'm hired by people and they have a step parent and parents and biological parent, the biological parent's always in charge. Now, step parenting, it changes. If the kids are little and you have them most of the time, you can be like a parent. But if they're teenagers and you only see them on weekends, you're not just a friend, but at the same time, it's very hard to become a parent role. You know what I'm saying? It's tricky. So every situation is very different. Like when I'm coaching, I give different advice to every family when it comes to step parenting. So I don't have any general advice, but you do have to relinquish sort of your power to the biological parent, because it is their kids. Jeanette from Singapore, welcome. I think I've got a client in Singapore right now. Is it Singapore? I don't know. Okay. I feel very lucky because I coach parents all over the world, and I learn a lot about different countries and different cultures by doing that. It's fantastic. Catherine from Georgia, welcome. Okay, this is Jewel Christie. Advice for newly 2-year-olds screaming at kids at the park, saying mine for everything. Yeah, just say no and pull them away just for a minute or so. So when they start screaming and saying mine, and if they go for it, you say no. And you might want to just take them away and hold them back for maybe a minute or so. And you're not talking to them while you do that. But when you say no, you got to be quick with this stuff. So if they go to grab a swing that another kid's getting into, you say no, and then you just pull them away and hold them back. That's all you can do. They're starting to learn right from wrong at this point, but they need you to reinforce that, basically. Oh, potty training. I can't go into potty training on a live because it's a whole system. I do have it in both of my courses if you're interested in buying a course just for potty training, or other stuff's in there. But yeah, potty training, I recommend it 2.5, but some kids are struggling, right? 3, 4, 5 years old. Some kids are still having accidents, and then some kids are bedwetters right into the teen years. Some adults are bedwetters. It's just something maybe biologically. I don't know why all the time. Sometimes I do, but sometimes I don't. So that's something a doctor usually has to assess. How to parent a know-it-all 8-year-old. Well, I don't quite know how to answer that. If they're a know-it-all, I got a lot of different responses. I'm just not sure what's going on. I'd have to figure that one out. Anyway, set yourself up as a leader, and usually all that stuff takes care of itself. Children are quite happy to follow a leader. They need, crave, and want leadership. And if you're a calm leader, they will sort of, they'll look up to you, and like a mentor, they'll want to please you. That's sort of what you're going for with kids. Teenagers, not so much, but with kids. Okay, Frugal Mama Wolf. Hello, welcome back. Just did my 3rd time of bedtime battles with my almost 5-year-old, and I think this time it finally worked. Good for you. She said, I'm just stuck here. 5-year-old, she said, I'm just stuck here and laid down. It was hard to hold back a laugh and tears of joy. I couldn't hold back a laugh. Very good. You did the work. It's hard work. It's easy for me to give the advice, but it's hard for you to do the work. Good for you. I'm stuck here. I like that. Okay. How do you discipline a 3-year-old for behavior that happened at school that's on the behavior board, but you didn't see it and they are just happy to see you? Oh, okay. Well, discipline should never be, how do I explain it? It should never be negative. It should be kind of not positive either, but your tone should always be positive. Whenever you're disciplining a kid, it's a very calm thing, and you talk like it's a business transaction. So you're happy to see them. When you get home, say, okay, by the way, I understand you broke a rule at school, and the school dealt with it however they deal with it. That's really not your business, sort of thing, right? They do what they got to do at school. And then you say, so what we're going to do, we're going to go to the behavior board, and you say, you broke this rule, so here's your consequence. So yeah, you back it up at home. You see how I'm talking? It's matter of fact. I don't discuss it. I don't say, why would you do that? You know better. That's shaming and blaming and bullying. I can't stand that stuff. Don't talk about it. Just hand out the consequence. But I already got punished at school. Yeah, well, that's okay. But, I'm your parent, so here's what we're going to do. You love Canada. I'm Australian and Canadian. I spent 20 years in Australia, and there's so many pluses and minuses into every single country. But yeah, I love both countries the same. But it's funny, when I moved back here to Canada from Australia after so many years, I sounded American. And a lot of people thought I was American. And the reason is I had no Canadian or American friends in all those 20 years I was in Australia. But I had American TV, so I came back sounding very American. Probably still do. So I feel part American too. Okay. Vermont, do you have any advice for 4-year-olds who gets very excited and aggressive towards other kids playing, and aggressive towards other kids when playing and not listening when other kids say stop? Yeah, just have a rule on there and say respect other people's boundaries or personal space, and you word it how they would understand it. And you write it on the board. You put down, maybe they go to touch someone, draw a picture of it, and then you put an X through it if the person says no or whatever. Just figure it out so that they figure out a way that you can explain this to them. And then, but you said that aggressive towards other kids. Okay, aggressive means hitting, grabbing stuff. So you can say something like that. Just don't be aggressive towards other kids. And that means hitting, it means grabbing stuff. And then when they do, there's a consequence. Check out my behavior board. It's completely free. It's on my website, BratBusters.com. It has rules and consequences for every member of the family, 3 years old and over. You're on there too. That's what makes it work. I teach calm leadership, and I just invented that. So, yeah. Okay, this is Green Man, and it's actually a very good question, and because I've got an interesting answer. Well, I think it's interesting. You said, my 2.5-year-old sometimes gets cranky in the morning before going to preschool, usually when he acts up. I put him in the room by himself and close the door. After 5 to 10 minutes, he calms down himself. Is this a good idea? I wouldn't do that. But if it works, keep doing it. Okay. Yeah, if they're cranky before, it's okay that they're cranky. I think when they're in that zone, I want them to see me not reacting. I always want to, whenever I'm dealing with something with kids that I don't like, I keep them close. I want them to see me not reacting to that. So they're cranky as anything. I'm just carrying on with my morning. So in other words, you can be as cranky as you want. I'm still just carrying on with my morning. But if you're doing it and it's working, just keep doing what you're doing. But I don't recommend locking a kid in a room. Yeah, I don't know. 2.5, can they get out of the room? I don't like locking kids in rooms where they can't get out. But like I said, I keep them close. So it's just my way. And but yeah, if it's working, I never argue with something that's working. But sometimes this stuff can backfire because you're not really addressing it. You're sort of putting it on them in a way. But if it's working, keep doing it. Who am I to say? Okay. So I'm going back for something. Okay, Catherine says we've done everything. So you've got my course, the potty training course. Is that what you're saying? I don't know. It's just a whole system. I can't go in. I can't give any potty training tips because it's a whole system. It would be like getting dieting advice. Oh, eat lettuce. What else? Well, that's just a tip. See what I mean? It's a whole system. He can get out. I didn't lock your. He can get out. I didn't lock the door. Yeah, if it's working, that's fine. You know, like I said, if it's working, then do it. If it feels right to you and you're comfortable with that, do it. But like I said, if I'm dealing with bad behavior, that's when I make sure I'm right there. I want them to see how I don't react to it, basically, that I'm calm as anything. I'm always trying to set myself up as this calm leader when they're, acting out. And so it's important that I keep them close. Oh, that's really sweet. Thanks, Jewel. Sometimes something happened a while ago. I'll be very vague. And it was strangers somewhere, and they knew who I get recognized a lot, and they knew who I was. And their child came over to me and did something naughty, was naughty towards me. And the parents just sat back watching me, expecting me to fix it. And I don't do that. Like, that's not my job. It's your job. It was quite interesting. And the parents were like this. They were just watching me, like, fix my kid. Yeah, it just struck me as really funny. And whenever I'm asked to move in with someone, I've been offered a lot of money to do that. And I wouldn't do that because I always say, I'm teaching you how to parent. I don't fix kids. I'm fixing and teaching parents here. So I could get respect with your kid, but that's not what you need. You need to learn how to do it yourself. But yeah, I was a complete stranger, and it's kind of interesting. St. Louis, Missouri. Welcome, Judith. Okay, there's another stepson question. I don't get into that because there's so many variables with step parenting, so I don't know what's going on. I don't teach step parenting. I teach parenting, like the ones who have custody, the biological parents usually, or if you've adopted a child. But yeah, step parenting. There's a lot of different things that could be going on there. So I would need to. That would be coaching more with step parenting. Mom of a 1.5-year-old and a 4-month-old. Best way to teach 1.5-year-old to be gentle. So they're probably being rough with the new baby. Just protect that new baby for now. The 1.5-year-old, there's 4 things that they're born to do or they're never going to do. These are things we don't like. One of them is aggressiveness. Okay, they're either born to do it or they're not. So it's your job to train them out of it, but it takes time. Okay, so you just keep saying no and you redirect. If it's just a 1.5-year, just keep redirecting, and then protect the baby. And then the other 3 things, one is tantrums, one is running, one is climbing. So, and by running, I mean running away from you in public. So those are the 4 things. They're born to do those things or they're never going to do them. My son had tantrums, nothing else. And it was funny, I was doing a live once and someone said, oh, my kid has all 7. There's only 4 of them. 7-year-old daughter speaks rudely when she doesn't get what she wants, shouts and says, shut up. Yeah, that's on you. That means you're not a leader. She doesn't respect you. You got to work on yourself, not her. Remember, our kids are just victims of our parenting. She's learned how to do that. You've taught her to do that, by the way. So yeah, you got to teach yourself how to be a leader, and that stuff goes away. That's the attitude, and you got to earn that. You got to earn respect. Don't just expect it. So yeah, everyone asks me to fix their kids, but I don't do that. I fix you, and I teach you how to be a leader. Okay, once you're a leader, kids will respect you. I've never worked with a kid that I couldn't get respect with. Is it them or me? And I never worked with an easy kid. I was never once ever handed an easy kid to work with or teenager. It was always like, good luck with this one. I was always handed, kids who were behaviorally challenged. So I always could get respect with them. So it's never the kid. It's always you. They're just victims of us. So work on yourself. That's all I teach here. I teach parenting, not kidding. Okay. Hi there from North Carolina. This is Richia. Might have said that wrong. I currently have been following the behavior board. My 4-year-old's My 4-year-old's daughter current rule is no playing with or throwing food. Once she does it, tell her she has consequence. She will start doing it more and more because she has to do it. Okay. I don't know the age of the kid. A 4-year-old. Wait a minute. My 4-year-old's. You mean your 4-year-old daughter? Oh, okay. Current rule is no playing with or throwing food. Okay. Throwing food's a little bit different. She's 4 years old though. So yeah. And the fact that she does that means there must be other stuff going on too. You can't just isolate it and say, well, she really respects me. But then this one thing she does. Yeah, she wouldn't. So work on your leadership, use the behavior board. So you put down no throwing food. I wouldn't say anything in the moment. I never address bad behavior at the table until after the meal's over. If she throws food, I might just say, oh, no, and I'd throw it away, and then I would hand feed her. She will hate that, but that's okay. So that you're sending the message, you can't have food if you're going to throw it. So try and hand feed her. And then and she won't want to eat anyway. So then you put the food, you say, okay, you're all done. Then you put the food away. It can come out later if she says she's hungry. And then after the meal, then you say, okay, let's go to the board. See how I'm talking? Okay, let's go to the board. Now let me see now. So your rule was no throwing food, and you threw food. So here's your consequence. See how I'm talking? No anger, no yelling. And you talk low and slow when you're disciplining. And you always go to the board. You always look at it like you've never seen it before. Now let me see. Your rule was no. See how calm I am? They're trying to get a rise out of you. They're trying to make you mad. If they can't do it, why would they continue with that behavior? Okay, sorry, I'm just going back and forth here. I'm always on YouTube whenever I'm doing a live. That's where I save all of my lives. And then I hop from Facebook to Instagram to TikTok. How can I help my 2.5-year-old stay at the table when eating? Do you have them in a high chair? I would have them in a high chair at that age. I just would. I'd have them in a high chair. And do they ever eat anywhere else? A lot of parents struggle with keeping their kids at the table during mealtime, but then they can have snacks wandering around the house. That's a mixed message. Plus, it's kind of dirty. Like my kids knew they never got any food except at the kitchen table. That was it. So it was just, they never knew any different. They've never, ever eaten anything anywhere else. So I'm wondering if that's it. And you can't use the behavior board until they turn 3. Oops, geez, I'm just scrolling through it. Oh, wow. Okay, sorry, I had to scroll through a lot of questions. So I'm at the bottom now, just to make sure you're still here when I answer. Okay, and I don't usually answer grandparent questions unless you have full custody. Like I'm a grandparent, very different from parenting. My job is to care for my granddaughter as needed. I have her sometimes 2 days a week, and then to support the parents. That's my job. It's just different. Okay. How do you talk to a toddler preschooler, currently 2? I'd call that a toddler, about a father who passed away when he was only a few weeks old, now and beyond to teens? Yeah, just talk about them Like, well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know your situation. Like, what I mean is there someone else in your life now that, is like a father figure? Doesn't mean I wouldn't talk about the father, but I would bring them back into their life. I would have a picture by their bedside. I would make sure that they're very aware of how important they were to that person. But throughout, they're not going to understand it at this age, but throughout the years, they will figure it out. I remember being told I was adopted, and I was about 2 or 3. I can remember it. I remember I couldn't talk. I remember that I was speaking, but not very well. And I can remember thinking, I have some questions, but I don't know how to articulate this. So I was really little when I was told I was adopted. And then throughout the years, we talked about it a lot. So I grew up thinking that, well, this is kind of embarrassing, but my mom overshot with this. I grew up thinking I was more special than other kids because I was chosen. I wasn't just had. So, but yeah, my mom really sold that adoption. I mean, it was not to say that I wasn't special, but other kids are too. But yeah, it was just talked about so much that it was just part of my life. And I love being adopted. And so the more you talk about it, the more it becomes part of their life. I think it's important that they know how loved they were by that other parent. But they're not going to get it yet. Oh, my 3-year-old's in a crib. He's never tried to climb out. When should I move into a toddler bed? Whatever works for you. He's getting pretty big. My concern would be if he does try and climb out, would he fall? So yeah, that's your choice. There's no set time when you put them in a bed. What I did with my kids, they were really little when they went into a big bed, maybe 1.5 or 2. It was as soon as they climbed out and flopped on the floor of their crib. That was it. I dismantled the crib and I just put the crib mattress on the floor temporarily till we got a bigger bed or whatever. And then I put pillows all around it. So that's what I did. Okay. Okay, this is a bit more involved, which I love. 3-year-old, we are about 5 weeks with boards. I want to address everything now. How does that look? Things he knows he's not to do, he does. Are you giving a timer for them all? 2 to 3 bad decisions in an hour or so. Okay, so that would be more the course. Okay. The free behavior board is the first 3 weeks, and it's 3 behavior boards. I always say after that, you address everything, not just what's on the board. Basically, you just say it. That's sort of how the course goes. It's a bit more involved, obviously, but you just say, okay, and they know right from wrong. He's 3. He knows right from wrong. So you just say, okay, so that was bad. You can say the word bad. They're not politically correct and woke like some, you know what I mean? They don't care about that. Say that was bad, not your bad, but that was bad. So I'll tell you what, we're going to give you a consequence for that. Okay. So you can still use the boards, but you don't have to look at them or walk to them anymore. You just talk, he understands consequences by now. So you just say it. Whenever he does something bad, you're going to get a consequence. Or if you're out, you say, when we get home, we'll discuss it. And when you get home, then you have a consequence. But after the 3rd week, it's 2 strikes and you're out, or 3 strikes and you're out. So they'll do 2 bad things in a day. It makes more sense if you've seen the behavior board. But they'll do 2 bad decisions in a day, right? On the 3rd one, I would say, I'll tell you what, we'll discuss this after dinner. And then they're going to keep doing naughty things throughout the day. That's okay. Just say after dinner, we'll talk about it. Then after dinner, you go straight to the 2nd consequence, which is the negative deprivation. That's when you take something away. You don't start with that. You start with the positive action. Anyway, check out the behavior board. It explains all that. But you just start talking about, you don't necessarily have the behaviors on the board, but they already know right from wrong. If they do something bad, they know, right? Okay, I also wanted to say, this is Sindel. I use your method for tantrums with my 1.5-year-old, and it has made a world of difference in our life. Honestly, can't thank you enough for what you do. Oh, thanks so much for that. My son has an interesting way of dealing with his daughter. She doesn't have a lot of tantrums at all, actually. I thought she would have. She was more feisty as a baby, cried harder. But now she's a very easy little girl, actually. So they lucked out. She's 20 months old. Anyway, if she starts to say no and start to go into a tantrum, my son just says to her, I'll wait. And then he just sort of waits and she just stops. So it's sort of what I do. It's like, yeah, I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting it out. Sort of the same thing, but he says it. Now, she's very cerebral. She likes to analyze everything just like her dad was. So it works with her. That wouldn't work with every kid. That I'll wait saying that, but it works really well with her. It's very quick. So it's interesting. So it's very similar to what I did, but it's just a little bit, it suits her. I keep using the word cerebral. I'm not saying that she's super bright. Not that she isn't, but I don't mean it that way. I mean, she's more a thinker than a doer. She analyzes everything, just like her dad did. Yeah, you could see other little kids just acting and, but she stops, she thinks and she's looking at everything. She just is like her dad, exactly the same as her father was. How can I stop my 20-month-old from running away from us? Put him on a leash, put him on a harness before you go out. As soon as they start to run, you say no, clip them in and keep them clipped in for the rest of that outing. They'll hate it. So you do some practice runs somewhere where you don't care that you even get there because they're going to drop and scream probably. That's okay. You got to keep them alive. This is about safety. Some people say, oh, I hate putting them on a leash. I say, well, I'd hate a kid being flattened by a bus. What's the, weigh out your options here. But that's what I would do. Put them on a leash. Should I give a consequence to a 2-year-old? No. It's consistent corrective actions with toddlers. Toddlers are 16 to 35 months. By 36 months, which is 3 years old, that's when they can go on the behavior board. That's when they have the ability to stop and think before they act. They're starting to develop reasoning, whereas under that, they don't. They're just actions. Their bodies are just going, right? So you use consistent corrective actions. So if they hit, then you just say no and you remove them from the baby, and then I would fuss over the baby. Okay, pick the baby up for a while. And that would be enough. And then you got to be fast though. They got to connect that really quickly. So whenever they're naughty, 16 to 35 months, the toddler stage, whenever they do something naughty, you have to correct it right away, but use consistent corrective actions, which is you remove them from the fun or the fun from them, just temporarily. But you got to be consistent. And they might learn after the 50th time. They learn more through a knee-jerk reaction. It's more like muscle memory almost. They're not thinking it through a lot. So it's like a toddler will touch a hot oven 10 times, but not the 11th. But they don't really think about it. They just don't do it. There's a way, some of my clients are child psychologists. They said that there's a term for that, the way they learn. It's not really thinking it through, but it's just more like a knee-jerk reaction. I don't know what they call it, but wouldn't be me if I knew what it was anyway, all that terminology stuff. That ain't me. Hello from Maine. Hi, Nicole. How would you deal with consequences in real time in public, especially if you can't think of something? Okay, I'm assuming that that's the 3-8-year-old plus. So that's when we do consequences. So if you're out and they do something naughty, just say, we'll discuss it when we get home. And then when you get home, then you discuss it and you have a consequence. So it's called delayed punishment, and it gives them time to sweat and you time to think, right? And if they keep bugging you, I don't know how old your kids are. So it might have said, but I won't bother going back. But let's say they're 4 and 5, whatever. So if they keep bugging, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Say, I'll tell you what, you keep bugging me about it, I'll make it worse. Your choice. And then shut down. Don't discuss it after that. Let them go on and on. And you don't need to answer all their questions when they're being rude. A lot of parents get pulled into being a reactor. When they're being naughty, you act. You don't react. You stay on the high road. Let them join you. As soon as you start answering all these snotty questions like, not fair, I hate you, and the parents just get pulled into this, you're instantly on the low road with them. Now there's no leader. If a kid talked to me like that, I'd just be sitting on that high road waiting. I'd be filing my nails, waiting for them to join me. There's no way I would respond to that behavior. That's snotty stuff. You know what I'm talking about. You don't need to answer everything. I hate you. Everyone hates me. Not fair. Not fair. Oh, whatever. That's what I'd say. Well, whatever. And then I'd shut down. Then I'd change the subject. I control the energy. I control the narrative. Okay. They keep going on. As soon as there's a lull, they stop doing it. A lull. It's hard to say. Then as soon as they stop carrying on like that, then I might say, what a beautiful day out. There's no way I would discuss that. No way. You never discuss a bad attitude. You've taught them to have a bad attitude. It's just the way it is. It's a learned behavior that you've taught them, okay? By not being a leader. When you're a leader, they don't talk to you like that. An 8-year-old boy who doesn't respect people's space, put on the board, respect people's personal space. He can understand that. Explain what you mean, and then there's a consequence if he doesn't. Okay, we have full legal guardianship by the court since 2. Okay, well, I won't go back and look at your question. If you want to put it again and then start with legal guardianship, then I'll remember you. Sorry, I'm just going back and forth here. I got a lot of questions here, so, okay. Okay, this is a good question, actually. 6-year-old delays leaving for school, always needs to do one more thing. Do they get a consequence for this after school, or is that too delayed? I use incentive or bribery, you could even call it, for 2 things. One is potty training. I call it incentive. Bribery to me is when they're doing something naughty and you offer them something to stop. Incentive is when they're not doing anything naughty, but you offer them something if they do the right thing. See the difference? One, I would never offer a kid something to stop misbehaving. That's totally different. Now, so the incentive that I use for school morning routine is this, and you can come up with different stuff. Sometimes I have to get really creative because not everyone wants screen time with their kids. So let's say you want your kids to get up at 7 a.m. and you have to get out the door by 8. It's just an example of time frame. Okay, I would say to the kids, okay, if you're all ready, and I would have a list that they could check off. You have to eat breakfast, brush your teeth, get dressed, do your hair, pack your bag, everything, but everything's all ready. And then if you're all ready for school, by 7:45, you get 10 minutes of screen time. And you put a timer on, only 10 minutes. And then it gets turned off. And then the last 5 minutes is getting out the door. And that's it. Okay. So it is an incentive-based program. Why would I do that with school morning routine and nothing else except potty training? They're both kind of in the bodily function department. And I'll tell you why. Potty training is obvious, but school morning routine, not everyone wakes up with the ability that they have in the middle of the day. Like what I mean is they might be sleepy. So it's sort of they're coming out of that sleep zone. They haven't maybe woken up yet. So that's why I sort of treat it quite differently. Plus, if you're just going to punish them for not doing it, you're still not going to get them to school. You see, sometimes they don't care in the morning. I don't care. Do whatever you want. I'm still going to be late. You see, but if they have that incentive, I could go on and on about this. I won't go on too much more. But if they have that 10 minutes now, let's say they argue with you and they won't turn it off after that alarm goes after 10 minutes. Okay. Then I would say the next day, I would say to them, okay, so yesterday you argued with me. So today you only get 8 minutes or 5 minutes. Okay. So you don't completely take it away or else you got no leverage. So then, and you always take it away at the start, not the end. So you don't let them play for 5 minutes and then stop it. You say you can't start until 7:50. See what I mean? I know it sounds kind of confusing. Anyway, if you go back on YouTube and rewatch this, it might make sense. Okay. Anyway, I keep all these lives on YouTube. Anyway, yeah, I use incentive. It works really well with most clients. Although sometimes we have to tweak it. You know, there's different things that we do. Or you can just put it on the behavior board if you want, but I find this works better. What to do about name calling 8-year-old? Yeah, those, I never address attitude. I just don't, because you've trained them to have a bad attitude. But name calling and bad words, I will put on a behavior board because they're just different. So I would put on the behavior board, no name calling or bad words. And then when they do, there's a consequence. If they say, I hate you, ignore it. That's the attitude. Do you know how many kids use the term poopy face, like little wee kids? They call their parents, if they're mad, poopy face. How did I come up with this? How do so many kids come up with that term? I find that bizarre. Anyway, okay, I'm going over to, where am I going? I'm on Facebook, I think. And I hope I am. Anyway, I'm going over to Instagram now. Anyway, check out, and I'm also on YouTube the whole time. Check out my website, BratBusters.com. You can get my free behavior board, my courses. You can look into coaching. Sorry, I do have a huge wait list, but I will get to it eventually. And you know what a lot of people do? I send out an invoice. If you're next in that coaching spot, I send out an invoice and an invitation to the next spot. So, and I give you 48 hours to do it. So sometimes I'm slow at canceling the invoice. Anyway, so a lot of people miss that opportunity, and then they say, well, can you send me another one? Well, then then they might not get another invoice for 3 or 4 months. Depends on the wait list. I can't hold that spot. So just letting you know, I don't hold, it goes right to the next person within 48 hours, usually. Sometimes I get lazy and don't. Sometimes I hope that people won't join, so I might get a bit more of a breather. Just letting you in on what I do. Anyway, so I'm hopping over to Instagram now. If you want to join me over there, it's BratBusters Parenting. Happy parenting. And I'm staying on YouTube. Just moving over. Was I on Facebook? Yes. Okay. Instagram. Turn that and live. Okay. Okie dokie. I straightened my hair today. I don't know why. Once every few months, I'll straighten my hair. I've got really curly hair. It's just not me. I don't feel right when my hair is straight. Okay, I'm just killing time between waiting for people to turn up. Okay, I usually wait till I get about 100 people. Okay. Okay. Hello, Megan. Okay. There we go, 100. Okay, so let's get going with the live. My name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on my website, it's BratBusters.com. You can get my free behavior board, my courses. I have 2 of them, one for toddlers, one for older kids. You can look into my coaching. And there was a big wait list for that. Sorry, but I will get to it eventually. And then, or also you can look into our podcast. There's no wait list for that. You can listen to that whenever you want. And my daughter and I do that together, and it's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms, and we save it. We film ourselves, and we save it on YouTube if you're interested in watching us. And it's the only time we ever work together. My daughter and I, she's in the business, but we never work together except the podcast. So that's one of the reasons I love doing it so much. My favorite thing in my business by far is coaching. I love it. It's like I'm in a whole different headspace whenever I'm coaching. And then my second favorite is the podcast because I'm doing it with my daughter, and we're answering your questions in there. And then also this is my third favorite. Anytime I'm talking to parents or my daughter, it's great. Well, the bedtime, Stacy. Oh, okay. I don't know anything about our podcast. My daughter does all that. I don't remember doing a bedtime one. I'm sure we did. But yeah, bedtime is it's probably my bedtime battles method is probably, of all the common things I talk about, is one of the most successful things I teach is the bedtime battles. One of the hardest to do, but it's by far one of the most successful things I teach, methods. Okay, you said someone has meltdowns. I need to know the age and everything. How do you stop talking back? Me, please sit down. My 4-year-old son, you sit down. Okay, that just means that he doesn't respect you. You got to work on your leadership skills. That's all I teach here. There's no quick answer to that. Okay, leadership all comes from you being. God, I wish I had just one sentence. Check out the pool story. The pool story, if you just Google BratBusters pool story, I've got tons of videos on it. I just can't say it again. But it's basically, I don't let anything go. When you're first doing this, learning how to be a leader, you just start with 1 battle per week. That's the behavior board, 1 bad behavior per week. But if I went in, I'm dealing with everything in day 1 because I'm level 10 with what I do because I invented all this stuff, right? So I deal with everything. But I deal with bad behavior, but I focus on the good kid. And I know how to be a leader. I know how to make kids feel good about themselves. I know how to get respect. That's all I'm teaching here. So check out my free behavior board or just keep watching or listen to the podcast. You'll start to understand where I'm coming from. But the whole basis of leadership really can be explained by that pool story. That's not necessarily how I always address things, but it explains the psychology behind what I do. It's about dealing with bad behavior in a very calm business manner, quick, get it over and done with, and then you focus on the good kid. My goal is always to make kids feel good about themselves, okay? And yeah, he just doesn't respect you. That's on you. Remember, we're not fixing kids. We're fixing and teaching parents. You've taught them to do that. Believe it or not, you've taught them because I get respect with all kids. They don't talk to me like that. Not after, they've been with me for a few minutes or whatever. So I got to earn that. I got to work for that. I work my butt off to get respect from kids. You have to earn that. It doesn't just come naturally, like from them. You've got to set yourself up as a leader. It's like, have you ever had anyone that you look up to, like a teacher, a coach, a grandparent? They're like a mentor to you, someone that you just naturally want to please, like because they make you feel so good. That's what this is. That's all I'm teaching here. You're like sort of a mentor, someone that they look up to because you're very calm. When you're playing with them, you're crazy. Their love language is fun. So something that I talked about, and I get asked this, it always throws me off because what I teach is not necessarily what I did with my own kids. I don't teach what I did because I was already a leader, so it was different. I teach you how to become a leader. But anyway, I had someone I was talking to the other day, and I was telling them what to do, and they said, if that was you and your kids, what would you do? And it was a very different answer. My style is I use a lot of humor. I'm very goofy and sarcastic, and my kids were used to that. Like my mother would have said something like this to me. If I acted out, she would have gone, "Oh, interesting. You really want to go down that path?" That's how she would have said it, and I would have been embarrassed, like because I looked up to her. And so it's more that, if that's not your style, it's not going to work. Okay. So yeah, I thought that was quite interesting. I felt sort of backed into a corner because I don't teach what I did. I teach what you need to learn to be a leader. And because we all have our different styles, right? I'm very goofy, and you want to be playful with kids and like connect with them in their world, not yours. And that's a huge part of it. I teach connection more than anything. It's not about discipline. It's about connecting with your kids. Their love language is fun. Like you take a 5, and a lot of parents overpraise, but they don't play. So they overpraise and underplay. Play is way more important. Kids don't give a crap about praise. It's okay. But if they don't get anything else, they'll take it, right? It's like that. I'm like that. I don't care about praise. I care about you spend time with me. That is my love language. Spend time with me. Don't just tell me I'm beautiful. I don't care. It's empty words to me. Anyway, so let's say you see this 5-year-old little boy and you say to him, you're wonderful, you're special, you're so smart, you're good looking, you can do anything you want. I'm going to go do the dishes. His face is like this. You say to that same kid, hey, what are you doing? Can I play too? He lights up. See the difference? That's connection. One is empty. It's just empty crap. It's just words, means nothing. The other one is connection. What are you doing? Can I play too? See, that's connection. That's what gets you respect, believe it or not. It's the connection. But I don't take any crap either. I deal with bad behavior. But there's never any anger. Bad behavior is dealt with in a very business-like, calm manner. And because it's almost like, yeah, you chose to do that, so here's your consequence, blah, blah, blah. Like there's no emotions in it at all. But there's lots of emotions and you're playing with them. So I'm scrolling through to make sure you're still here when I answer your questions. Okay, good question. This is Ashley. Sorry, I live downtown. I got a siren going by. What's the best way to start being a leader with older teenagers, like a 17-year-old? Would you still recommend starting with the behavior board? Yes and no. I do specialize in teenagers, and it's more about connection than anything. So I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1, listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will shut you out. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. They already know it anyway. Number 2, with teenagers, negotiate as much as possible. Go something like this. Hey, I want your dirty dishes in the dishwasher from now on. What do you want from me? Back and forth. So you can use a behavior board. I don't call it a behavior board with teenagers. I just say, here's our new rules or whatever. And then number 3, don't sweat the small stuff with teenagers. If they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, just say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? And laugh it off. In other words, it's okay to not be perfect, just like me, right? Because they got to learn. You learn more through your mistakes than you do the other way. And number 4, don't leverage the good times to discuss the bad times with teenagers. So parents then say, well, when do we discuss the bad times? Never. You deal with stuff, but you never discuss it. They already know. And it's dragging them through the mud. Number 5, with teenagers, this is kind of with any adult too. You can be a right fighter or you can be happy. A teenager arguing something, even if they know they're wrong, they're going to die on any hill. They're going to keep arguing. Don't get pulled into that. Young kids will do this too. This is people that when they don't respect you, this is what happens. So they'll die on that hill. Don't die with them. Okay. Stay on the high road. Just say, I'll tell you what, let's just talk about it later. Do not add when you calm down. That's patronizing and it'll just accelerate the bad stuff, right? So that's my general teenage advice. I don't have a course on teenagers yet. I thought we'd be working on that now. We haven't started. We're just super busy, my daughter and I, in the business. And but I am going to be doing a teen course hopefully soon. Although my daughter said we're putting that aside for something else. She kind of runs stuff around here. So I can't even remember what she told me we're going to be doing. I don't listen to her. She just guides me through it. Oh, I know what she said. I remember now. Yeah. She wants to add something to the other courses. I can't remember what it was, but she wants to do that first because we have 2 courses already, toddlers and kids, 3 to 12-year-old, and then toddlers. And then I wanted to do the teen one, but she goes, she wants to do something first with the other courses. She's always trying to improve them and add to them because people are commenting and, can you please add this? Can you please? So that's what she wants to do. She keeps track of all that. The only reason I didn't do a teen course was because I do specialize in teenagers, but I started my business doing teen crisis work like 20 years ago. And I thought, well, I can't do a course on teen crisis because it's so, it's serious stuff. And then I realized most parents with teenagers are not in crisis. It's just the ones who hire me often were. Now, not so much even, but because I don't lead with that. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of general stuff that I could talk about with teenagers. And never take advice from someone who hasn't finished the job. If you haven't lived with teenagers right through and raised adults, you can't talk about raising teenagers. Anything to do with parenting is experience-based. A lot of my clients are teachers, principals, child psychologists. I couldn't do their jobs, but parenting is just different. It's personal. If you haven't lived with teenagers and seen them right through to adulthood and been successful with it, make sure, if you're taking advice, make sure that person has that qualification. What if he doesn't care about consequences? No matter what it is, he makes it sound like he didn't want the thing that was taken away. Oh yeah, they'll say that. That's the bravado. I didn't care about it anyway. You'll know if they do. Some things they do care about. But I don't know the age and what's going on. So, but I have lots of other advice around that. But yeah, they'll often say, I don't care. My 3-year-old son is a very good listener to everyone but me. He doesn't listen to me. What am I doing wrong? I don't know. You have to hire me. I don't know what you're doing wrong. I can't possibly answer that. Could be a million different things. So you're either maybe an authority or maybe you're a pleaser, or some combination of that. Yeah. Oh, this is good. Okay, some of my parenting practices have been influenced from working in preschool. Your videos make me feel validated for how I respond to children. Okay, preschool, like teaching, child psychologists and all that, those are some of my clients. Like I couldn't do their jobs. They're very different. That's business. It's not personal. Parenting is personal. Some stuff does cross over, but a lot doesn't. So parenting is very different from all that. Like I couldn't be a teacher. I'd jump out a window if I had to. You know how many classrooms I've sat in just, supporting the teacher with the behaviorally challenged kids? And I thought, yeah, I could never be a teacher. I teach parenting because I connect with kids one-on-one. I couldn't run a whole group. Like I said, I'd probably jump out a window. So I have nothing but respect for teachers. But a lot of them struggle with their own kids because it's very different handling 30 other people's kids and a couple of your own. It's very different. But some of it does cross over. Some stuff. One thing that doesn't, that's really common, is reward charts for good behavior. A lot of teachers who become clients, well, not so much now because they've seen me talk about this so much, but a reward chart in classroom, it's not personal, right? All the kids are on it. So what it means is if you're good today, if you have good behavior, then you get a gold star, whatever it is. You're accumulating something, right? Anyway, it's not personal because everyone's on it. It's just different. At home, if you have a reward chart for good behavior, it's a disaster. What you're saying to your child is you're normally rotten. If you should happen to be good, you'll get a gold star. Could you imagine your spouse having a reward chart for you? If you're nice today, you'll get a gold star. See? Really patronizing. Really patronizing. It's nasty. So yeah. But the behavior board says you're normally wonderful, but if you should make a bad choice, there's going to be a consequence. See the difference? One's an insult, one's a compliment. Three-year-old's used to me being fun and playing. That is, he has a hard time when I'm not doing that. We've tried timers and schedules, but he whines constantly if I'm not playing. Suggestions? So yeah, he's in charge, basically. So it's like, yeah, play with me, play with me. I would say, okay, I'm going to play for 30 minutes, then I'm going to go. I would tell him what's going to happen. It's like in classrooms. They're usually really good if they go to daycare or preschool or whatever. They understand their system. So if that's the case and he's whining, I would say, I'm going to be playing Lego or whatever you're doing for 30 minutes, then I'm going to go do the laundry. And then just go and do it and let him whine, let him follow you around. That's okay. Just don't respond to it. You can give that a go. I've got other stuff you could do too, but that's just my first. That's what came to my mind first. What are some examples of consequences for a 3-year-old? I've got that on my free behavior board on BratBusters.com if you want to check that out. But just basically do a chore within 15 minutes of being asked to do so. Could literally give them a wet rag and tell them to wipe something down. It could be if you have a stainless steel fridge, they have to get the whole front of the fridge that they can reach. They have to get it all wet. Because if you don't, because if they have a wet rag, you can tell where they've rubbed, because sometimes they'll just go like, and they won't do anything. So it should be measurable, or it can be pick up 15 toys within 15 minutes, something like that. But yeah, it should be measurable, or else wipe the toothpaste out of the sink. It could be wiped down. They usually hate doing shower tracks or sliding door tracks. Wipe down the sliding door tracks. And you can tell if they've done it because there'll be dirt on the wet rag. Just give them a wet rag. Don't give them any, chemicals or anything. Anyway, something like that. Okay. Now, if they won't do that, then you resort to the negative deprivation. It's usually 24-hour media blackout. Or if you don't want that, then you can just take away a favorite toy. So it has to be something that they like and they do every single day that you can take away for a whole day. But that's their choice. They'll often say, mean, you're mean. And I would just go, whatever. That's their choice. All they have to do is not do the bad behavior. And then if they do it, all they have to do is wipe down a fridge. And if they won't do that, then they get media blackout and then they blame you. They'll eventually put it together. Just don't keep responding to it. Don't keep answering them. Not fair. Why? But why? It's on there. It's on there. Oh, how sweet, Tabitha. I won't repeat that. It's really nice, though. Just embarrassing. Thanks so much. Okay. Okay, you're not going to like my answer at all. My 2-year-old hit me with legs and hands multiple times yesterday while I was napping, probably just looking for attention. I pushed him away and he cried. I feel horrible. What could I have done? Napping in front of a 2-year-old is, if you're actually sleeping, it can almost be scary to them. I can remember, this is really weird. It's kind of hard to explain. My mother did not wake up very well in the morning. And I can remember, I'm still a morning person. I'd get up at like 5 a.m. My dad would leave for work at 6, and I'd get up at 5 with him every single morning. And I was like 2 or 3. I can remember this. And my mom, she was a night person, not a morning person at all. Anyway, so she'd be sleeping and my dad and I'd be making breakfast, chatting. It was just a beautiful time of day because we're both morning people, right? So then he'd have to leave. So he couldn't just leave me in the house with my mom sleeping because I'm basically alone, right? So he said, okay, let's go wake mommy up. And I'm like, no. We'd go in this dark bedroom and he'd say, Lillian, it's time I'm leaving for work now. And he always brought her a cup of strong tea to wake her up. And he'd bring the tea. My mom, I remember this like it was yesterday. It scared the hell out of me because she didn't wake up well. She was like, what? Oh, okay. And she'd sit up and she was half asleep trying to drink tea. And he'd say, okay, sit with mommy on the bed. No, it scared me. So that's why you're not going to like my answer. I wouldn't probably sleep in front of a 2-year-old if I was, you know what I mean? But yeah, they feel like they're alone if you're sleeping. Is there someone else around? If you want to nap, go in a room and shut the door. I've got a few other reasons for that. I won't embellish that. But yeah, if they're hitting it, I'm not saying it's okay that they hit you, but that could be one of the things. I didn't hit my mom. I wasn't the type to hit, but she did scare me because she did not wake up well at all. And he said, you have to be sitting up, Lil, because if she didn't sit up, she'd fall asleep again. So here she was sitting up half asleep. I idolized my mom. She was my best friend throughout my life. And in the morning, yeah, she was scary. She just didn't wake up. Oh, thanks for that. Tim O'Reed. Thanks for that. Oh, 18-month-old starts to hit when he gets frustrated. Just say no and physically restrain him. My daughter keeps asking me about this. Should you be saying restrain? By restrain, I mean just hold them off so that they can't hit you. You're not restraining them in a straitjacket. You're just holding their hand when they're hitting you. And you say no, and you just hold on to it while they're, to stop them from continuing to hit. And then you let go and walk away. If they follow you and start hitting, just say no. And then you might redirect you. They're only 18 months old. You might say no. And then once you don't do it right away, but you say no. And then you just hold them for a minute. And then you might walk off and say, oh, do you want to come over here and read a book? The reason why you don't redirect right away is because they're 18 months old. You don't want them to think they hit and then you read a book. You see, you don't want that quick connection. Did that make sense to anyone but me? Maybe not. Me too, Lillian. Yeah, I can remember that. And I can remember literally being scared of my mom. And I idolized her. I mean, I love my mom, but I remember it just, she wasn't her. She was like some swamp monster or something. She was just, her eyes wouldn't open, and she was trying, and she was trying to get her glasses on. She kept blinking and looking at me weird. Really slow to wake up. Oh God. I just had this visceral reaction of fear. Daddy, don't leave me alone with the swamp monster. I didn't call her that. And on Christmas morning, my mom, of course, she usually was, well, they'd go back and forth. My Aunt Em or my mom would have Christmas dinner growing up. And so my mom needed sleep, right? So my dad would get up with me because he's a morning person. And my mom's always had, the stocking was full of stuff for me to do. So it was all like, I loved arts and crafts. So there was a lot of stuff like that. And then I was allowed one present that she would have set aside. And it was always something that, anything she could do to keep me away from all the other presents so she could sleep in for a while. And then after an hour, a couple hours probably. But yeah, she was not a morning person. Yeah, I bounce out of bed at 5 a.m. I'm still a morning person. Okay, I don't bounce out of bed, but yeah, I mean, there's just too much going on here. This is Charlotte. You got a 3-year-old who's throwing toys, hits his sister. I mean, he's just kind of, spiraling, right? So, and he's not 3 yet, so you can't put it on the behavior board. So, do you play with him enough? Like, I'm wondering, why is he doing all that? Like, okay, kids love big reactions from parents. If they're not getting a lot of the fun playtime reactions, like, oh, what are we going to do? I'm very animated when I play with kids. Wow, look at that. They love those big reactions. If they're not getting that in the positive way, they'll go for it in the negative way. Not all of them, but some of them will. So does he get enough big reactions, or do you just say, okay, let's play for a while? They like the animation. They like that big reaction, the big emotional reaction. Their love language is fun and play. Okay. So I'm just throwing that in there. It might be other stuff, but I talk about consistent corrective action a lot too. You can do that, but you got to mix it with connection. Remember, I teach connection more than I do discipline. A lot of parents just discipline, but they forget the connection. Connection is most of this. It's about connecting with your kids. So, and they love animation. They love that, wow, look what we're going to do. They like that excited voice. Do you know what? Something that I've always said with kids, and I remember my mom doing it too. She'd say something like this: now let me see. Now let me, just that kind of that tone. And I go, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Now let me see. What are we going to do here? Oh, I know. You see, kids love that kind of stuff. It's exciting. I mean, if someone said that to me, I'd probably go, what are we going to do? So think about how you talk to kids. Are they just going for the big reaction naughty wise because they're not getting it the other way? Like, are you more interested in them when they're naughty than when they're not? You see, a lot of parents, they get a lot of very different attention when they're naughty, a lot of looking right at them and that. If they're not getting that in a positive way, they're going to go for the negative. I'm just throwing it out there. Okay, so I have to move over to TikTok now. If you want to join me over there, it's BratBusters.com. If not, check out my website, BratBusters.com. You can see my free behavior board, my courses. I have 2 of them, one for toddlers, one for older kids. You can look into coaching. Unfortunately, I have a huge wait list right now, but I will get to it eventually. We might even shut that down for a while. I'm not sure how to handle that. Anyway, and then the podcast, BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms, and we save it on YouTube if you want to watch us do it together. Film, because we film ourselves, my daughter and I. She's in charge of all the marketing, all the planning. If you ever get a DM from me, that's my daughter. And because I don't look at my social media at all. Anyway, because I don't understand it and I don't have time anyway. So that's what she does. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I'm hopping over to Instagram, TikTok, and I'm on YouTube the whole time whenever I'm doing a live. Bye now. It's a lot of buttons. I always complain about that. There's only 10. There used to be 13. Now it's only 10 buttons to go from Instagram to TikTok. Okay, I just always take a break at this stage just because my voice starts to give out. Getting more people on the live on YouTube. It is my smallest platform. YouTube is not a social media platform. It's a search engine. It's a totally different beast. And but I just hit 41,000 today, which is amazing to me because we don't really do much on YouTube. We just don't have time. But anyway, I love YouTube. I spend a lot of time on there. I used to only watch videos on YouTube, and I was posting on TikTok, but I never looked at it. Well, about 6 months ago, I started TikToking. It's addictive. Oh, I almost regret looking at it because it's so addictive. They know exactly what I want to watch. Okay. I won't complain about it, but YouTube does change the way they do something, and they don't show me all my subscriptions anymore. I have to go searching for them. I don't like that. They used to always send me all the new videos from all my, they don't do that anymore. I don't know why. So I've kind of pulled away from it a bit. Okay. But I still love it, but okay. What was I going to say? Oh, right. I'm on TikTok now. Welcome to the live. And what was I going to say? I'm here. Tao says, I'm here for live because I don't have TikTok. And I also don't want to jump around and follow you. Don't even get started on TikTok unless you want to become addicted to it. It's just dangerous. Okay, once I start TikTok, I remember, where was I? I was in the gym, I think, and I looked at one video on TikTok, and I just froze. And a couple people came over and asked if I was still using the machine. Yeah, okay. I don't know how long I was even standing there. I got on this thing. Oh my God, it's so dangerous. Anyway, okay, welcome to the live. My name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go to my website, you can see my free behavior board. My boot camp courses, I have one for toddlers, one for older kids. If you want to work with me one-on-one, I'm sorry, there is a huge wait list right now, but I will get through it eventually. That's my coaching. And then, you can look at the podcast. There's no lineup for that. So that is called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. My daughter and I work together. We do the podcast together, and it's on all the platforms. It's also filmed, and we put it on YouTube. So if you want to watch us do it, talk about nice working with your daughter. I just feel so lucky. Zena, I'm not a mom, but I love your content. Oh, that's really sweet. Any tips on correcting a 1-year-old that started biting? Yeah, they're just learning right from wrong at that stage. So you're teaching them this is not good. And you just say no, and you pull them away, and you just say no, and then you redirect. And you never say no that you make them cry. You don't go, no. You don't talk like that. Just go, no. And then you redirect. You redirect babies. Look at this. And they keep trying to bite. And you just redirect. Oh, what's over here? What's over there? But don't let them continue to bite. If you know they're going in for a chomp, just pull them away and you say no. And then, so you don't want them to continue. They get used to doing it. So don't let them continue. In other words, don't trust them. If they're biters and you think they're going to go for it, just make sure they can't bite you. The only time I ever screamed at my kids, like I'm not a yeller at all, I never yelled at them, was when I was breastfeeding and they bit me. That was a scream. Scared, and they both started crying, like it terrified them, but I couldn't help it. Gee, that hurt. Holy moly. And it's funny, they only did it once, each of them. They were probably about 8 or 10 months. I don't remember. Yikes. Thoughts on homeschool? I have no opinion on that. If it works for you, then do it. Like I literally have no opinion on homeschooling. I wouldn't want to do it personally because I like the social aspect of them going off to school. It's a bit of a war zone out in the playground too. I like my kids to be exposed to all that. So that was just my choice though. I have no preference, like no opinion. I have a personal what I like, but I don't have an opinion on it. Lots of my clients homeschool. And I think good for you. Wow, it's a lot of work. How are your children now? Well, they're great. My daughter's 30. She works with me and she does all my marketing, all my planning. I have no say in any of that. She does it all. And then my son and she's married and we live 5 minutes away. We talk every day and we see each other every day. We're best friends. And my son is 35 and he lives further away. It's like a 45-minute drive, but I'm out there at least once a week. And I have my granddaughter that I look after. And yeah, I adore both my kids. They're both doing really, really well. And raising them was the most joyous time of my whole life. I loved mothering, loved it. Wasn't that excited about becoming a grandmother because I thought, oh, how can it be as good as parenting? But pretty freaking fantastic. So, but it's not the same because I don't live with her, but I love her just as much. And yeah, I have her one day a week, sometimes two. And yeah, I just adore her. I had her for a whole weekend recently. And yeah, I just adore being a grandma. Someone said something to me about 6 months ago. I had her somewhere, and they said I thought this was the weirdest thing. Now she's 20 months old now, so she would have been, I don't know, 14 months old or something. A little bit older than that. So it was maybe just 3 or 4 months ago. Anyway, and they said to me, they literally came over and said, "You two look really close." I thought, what a funny thing to say about a little toddler and a grandmother. You two look really, because she was so little, right? That you two look really close. I thought that was a really sweet thing to say. And I said, "Oh, I feel we are." And but yeah, but she's got such great parents. They're just wonderful. I said to my daughter once, stupidly, 6 months ago or so, and I said, "Were you aware of how much I wallowed in?" And she went, "Yes, yes, yeah, I wallowed in my kids. It was the most fun I ever had in my whole life, was raising my kids. That's why I teach it, obviously. Never take advice from someone who didn't love and enjoy parenting and find it easy. Why would you, right? I loved it. Loved it. It was the most joyous time of my whole life. But that's why being a leader is so important, because when you're a leader, they never act out. They're never rude or disrespectful. And all you do is laugh and have fun all the time. That's basically what it was. Right through the teen years, the odd little hiccup here and there, but nothing big. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. But I didn't want to be, I wanted to be friends with my kids. I was always mom first, but I wanted to just have fun. That was my thing. I wanted to have fun with my kids, and I did. I really did. I just loved it. And that's what I teach you. But you got to get that respect cemented first, because if they don't respect you, there ain't a lot of fun going on, right? What age was the hardest? A toddler age for sure with me. The reason is I'm a safety freak, and taking them out, I was fine at home, but taking them out, you have to watch them constantly. And my daughter was particularly, like, she was a beautiful little toddler. She had long blonde hair, just a beautiful little girl. And I was terrified someone was going to snatch her. So yeah, I had a couple of incidents with her. And so yeah, that was my least favorite age. It was just safety issues. And my favorite age is teenagers. Being a mama is the best thing I've ever done. I love your advice too. I would say my daughter-in-law would say that. You never know how a new mom's going to react to mothering. She's a natural. And I'm very grateful for that, because I thought, I hope she loves parenting as much as I did. I would say she does. Yeah, she loves it. Oh, good question. This is from Lisa. Oh, another Lisa. Is the damage done by 3, or can we still turn it around? Yeah, you can turn it around at 16, 17, 18. Your connection is number 1. So it's harder as they get older. Absolutely. It's a lot harder. No comparison. But 3 years old, that's nothing. They're still tiny. Yeah. Easy. Not easy, but very doable. Oh, good. The tantrum stuff's been working. Very good, Rain. Oh, you've been here before. I remember that name. Unless there's 2 of you. My almost 2-year-old thinks being disciplined is funny. Any advice? Don't worry about it. It'll eventually work. Just use consistent corrective action. On my behavior board, I have a section. It's a mini course, basically. There's also a section on toddlers, which explains how you do consistent corrective actions. So you might want to check that out. It's completely free. Yeah, if they laugh, that's okay. It's not usually a real laugh, though. Like, it's not a real giggle. It's more of a ha ha ha. It's sort of in your face. They're testing you usually. But yeah, don't worry about their reaction. Just follow through with what you need to do, and they'll eventually catch on. Oh, I was a full-time mom. I did teach aerobics, but I was a full-time mom. If working, had you juggled work and motherhood? Yeah, I didn't have to. I was very fortunate with that. And, but I was very fulfilled being at home with the kids, but I was at school every day helping out with other kids. I was always volunteering with kids, right? So I was very lucky. I was very fulfilled at just mothering and working and volunteering with other kids. Not only was I mothering my own, I was out volunteering with other people's kids. So it was just my thing. And, but a lot of moms, like my daughter, could never be a stay-at-home mom. She loves working and just loves it. That's how she feels most fulfilled. She's not a mother yet, but she knows. She said, and my mom was the same. She loved working. She loved doing her own thing too. She was a very good mom, but it's wherever you're happiest is makes you the best mom. If you're not happy in your own self, in your own life, then it's hard to be a good mom, because if you're happy, you're usually a better parent, right? I would say most of my clients work. Most of the moms work. What part did your husband take with parenting your kids? He was a good dad. He was there, certainly, but I was in charge of the discipline. I was the leader. And he was quite happy to say, if the kids had ever, if I wasn't around and the kids ever tried to, push him around in any way, he would just say, do you want me to tell mom? Because I told him to say that. And they would go, nope. And so, yeah, I was definitely the leader. And that's usually the way it goes. There's usually one leader. But because we were on the same page, it worked. If he was undermining me, it wouldn't have worked. He was thrilled with how well behaved the kids were. We got compliments all the time on how nice they were. And so he loved that. And so he followed up with whatever I did. He followed it up. He was on the same page. That's the thing. You got to be on the same page. Okay, good question. I don't get asked this a lot, and I'm surprised. This is Abby. If I stay at home and dad works, should I try to establish as primary leader? Yeah, it's the one who's with the kids the most, should be. Yep. But you can still defer to the leader. But it's harder. It's usually the one who's home the most, with the kids the most, usually. You can both be leaders, but there usually is one dominant leader. And the leader is the one that the kids are going to tell everything to right through the teen years. It's just the way it is. The leader is the one the one that they turn to the most. Please help. I have an 18-month-old that isn't listening. Sounds normal to me. Yep. Just you use physicality with that. Like what I mean by that is if you say, okay, we're going, let's get in the car, and they run the other way, just pick them up and put them in. So you just make it happen anyway, physically. So, okay, time to go to bed. No, and they run away, pick them up and put them in bed. You see, just follow it up with actions. Okay, my 9-year-old son is having such bad behavior at home, school, ever since my daughter was born. She's 3. Yeah, check out the free behavior board. You might even want to look into the boot camp course. It just goes into more detail. And yeah, I don't know. But that 3 years of that, yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't add up to me. There's other stuff going on. It's not because your daughter was born. It's because something else going on. So work on your leadership skills, see how that goes. Oh, are you ever firm? No. Are you always firm on rules? Do you ever let some slide? Sometimes, never in a million years. Nope. Consistency. If you got a rule, if you're not following through, yeah, 100% consistent. 100%. Especially with behavior. Like, let's say my kids, like they had some chores. Let's say they didn't make their bed one morning, like they forgot and went to school without making their bed. I would let that go, because they were good kids. I already had their respect. But when you're getting respect, you don't do that. But then I remember once my son came home and he goes, oh, sorry, Mom, I forgot to make my bed this morning. Well, of course I made it, because I'm fussy. So, and I said, never mind. And no, he came home and he said, sorry, I forgot to make my bed this morning. And then he says, how about no TV tonight or no video games tonight? And I said, just brush my hair for 5 minutes. That's it. I don't even know if I got him to do that. But once you're a leader, that stuff doesn't matter because it's not a big deal, right? But if it was ever anything bad, like if he did something bad, I would never let that go. No, not making your bed is not bad. But if he'd ever hit someone, I would never let that go. No way. And this is the thing. You've got to be 100% predictable. My kids knew if they made a poor choice and they did something naughty, they knew 100% mom was on top of that. There's no way I would have let that go if it was anything naughty. I just wouldn't. The great thing is that he apologized and took accountability. Okay, I didn't see the first part, but yeah, I don't care about apologies. It's okay. It's the icing on the cake, I guess, but I don't really care much about apologies because words are cheap to me. But it's more like actions. You've got to follow it up with something, like prove to me that you're going to be accountable. So accountability, I care about. Apologies, not so much. That's a whole other conversation. I remember years ago, I had this friend who had we both had little boys. They were like 1.5 or something. And her little boy he became the school bully. He was very aggressive and he was hit my kid. They'd be playing in the sandbox and he'd hit my kid on the top of the head with a shovel. And the mom would just say you're sorry. And that's all she'd ever do. Say you're sorry. And he went, sorry. And then he'd hit again. Sorry. That's all. He never learned a darn thing. Apologizing doesn't teach them anything. It's the consequences. I would have taken the shovel away and taken him out of the sandbox. He would have learned that way, but she never did. Yeah. Oh God, I ended up not being friends with her. You can't hang out with someone whose kid's beating your kid up all the time. I can't do anything about it. It's not my kid. Such a good question. I let my child climb a lot at home, but do help. But how do I help them learn to do not in public? You can't teach them to have different personalities in public and at home. My kids couldn't climb at home or out. Do you know what I mean? Like they weren't climbing over furniture at home. So you can't expect them to have different personalities. Like you shouldn't be a different parent either. So I was 100% the same mom, no matter where we were. I didn't care where I was. I was exactly the same mom, no matter where we were. And that you want them to be the same kid too, right? So yeah, that's a mixed message. It's not good. What do I do about family trying to discipline my toddler as I'm actively correcting? Okay, that's adult stuff. And the only thing I ever say to that is if someone's undermining your parenting, which is what that is, I would just say, when you undermine my parenting or interfere in my parenting, it hurts my feelings. It's all you can say. If the person doesn't respect that, then good luck to you, right? They'll say, but I'm just helping. It hurts my feelings. So now you know that whenever you do that, you're hurting my feelings. You're making that choice. But you're so sensitive. They're going to, if they're doing that anyway, they're probably going to be a difficult person. So, yeah. If there's someone you can't toss out of your life,